welcome to the Prophecy Club. Today we're going to be talking more about these arrests that apparently are either already started or are about to start. I'm going to be bringing you some new information, but I'm also going to be talking about what we discussed yesterday. We're going to kind of dwell on it a little bit, and we're going to kind of think through this thing and try to actually understand some real important things that are in the process of happening in our beloved nation. First of all, from Pastor Augusto Perez, 10/10/2012. He says, I was in a very large, well-lit room with wall-to-wall bookcases full of books and important-looking documents. There was a small group of men in the room who were explaining to me the plans, processes, and history of the elite. Now, we're talking about the Khazarian Mafia. We're talking about the international bankers. We're talking about the evil of the evil of the evil elite, okay? They began methodically explaining to me how they were behind most of the important events that have historically transpired on the face of the earth. I was shown several maps and information recorded on strange-looking documents. As I was listening to them share many of these things, I was astounded to the brilliance and the wisdom of their plans and methods, which they have used over the centuries to bring about their evil goals. Their desire is that evil works always hidden and not exposed. They wish to remain in the shadows, doing their evil work from behind the scenes, planning, controlling, murdering, deceiving, threatening, manipulating, and creating chaos. Now, I want to say that word again. Listen to that, because that's a central theme through what we're talking about here, and that is the word chaos. Let me read that again. They wish to remain in the shadows, doing their evil work from behind the scenes, planning, controlling, murdering, deceiving, threatening, manipulating, and, here it is, creating chaos whenever and wherever they can. They are the seed of the evil one. In other words, these are the people who say they are Jews and are not, but do lie, and they are the sons of the evil one, okay? Totally evil beyond description. I was shown with great detail how they have cunningly devised and manipulated world events, as well as events here in America, to achieve their ultimate goal. Here it is. You want to know where the elite are heading? Well, Bible prophecy has already told us. So since we've read Revelation, since we've read Daniel chapter 2 and 7, we already know what he's about to say. To achieve their ultimate goal of total world power and control. Okay, so before we go any further, why do you think that they want total world power and control? Oh, so they can have all the money? No, they already have a printing press. They have all the money. Okay, so why do they want the world control and power? It's not for money, brothers and sisters. And here it is. I was also shown how the seed of the evil one has countless times in the past concocted behind closed doors their evil plans to try to destroy, exterminate, and to commit genocide on the righteous seed of our Father, and how they have failed every time. They are sickly, demonic beings whose only aim is the destruction of the ways of the Creator, His earth, and His people. Now, what we know is a step beyond that. We know that they don't want to just create a world government, to just have a world government. It's not just for power and control. It's so that they can put their man, the son of Satan, the Antichrist, the beast, upon the head of that world government, who will require worship of everyone on earth. This is about destroying people, keeping them out of eternity, or Jesus is trying to get as many people to accept his blood and live eternally with him as is possible. Back to Augusto Perez. The Lord was always one step ahead of them. No matter how brilliant, no matter how wise their plans, he was always one step ahead. As I was watching all the things that were being shown to me and intently listening to what I was being told, one of the men approached me and said to me in a loud voice, "There is going to be a revolution in America. It will usher in the New World Order." I'll say it again. There is going to be a revolution in America. It will usher in the New World Order. As soon as I heard this, I was awakened. I was quite startled by what I had just heard. Many pieces of the puzzle began to come together, and somehow things started to make more sense to me. Let me say it again. There is going to be a revolution in America. It will usher in the New World Order. Now, what did Dmitri tell us? Dmitri was told the fall of America will start with an internal revolution in America, started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and two of the countries he couldn't remember will attack and defeat America in one day, in 1 hour, so great riches will come to naught. Then God will raise up China and Japan and many of the nations. They'll go against the Russians. They'll defeat the Russians. They'll back the Russians to the gates of Paris where they sign a peace treaty. But they make the Russians their leader. Then, under the leadership of the Russians, all the world goes down to attack little Israel. Israel can't count on the help of the Jews in America, so she cries for Messiah. Now let's jump to what Terry Bennett was told. Now remember back in 2010, Terry Bennett had the angel Gabriel come to him and tell him that there's 3 sets of 7 years coming, and the third set, while he did not say it in these words, essentially he was saying the third 7-year period, or the final 7-year period, will be the tribulation. But for our purposes today, let's look at what he said for the second period. Now remember, there was a respite given according to Sadhu Sundar and also Maurice Sklar. In other words, there was a delay. So these dates may, I say may, not a guarantee, may have been delayed. He said that period 2 would be from the years 2015 to 2021, and it would be highlighted by governmental changes. He said the economic problems of the first 7-year period will be the primary cause of the next major issue occurring during the second period from 2015 to 2021. He said 2014 to 2015 would be a transitional year leading to the next 7-year period, which would be a, quote, time of dramatic changes in governments around the world, great political turmoil, and wars. My opinion, and I hope I'm right, I think it has been delayed. But let's keep on. What the United States is going to go through is civil conflict, civil war, then invasion. Well, as I said yesterday, there is anger in the hearts of people both on the right and on the left, like I've never seen in my 65 years on this earth. Civil conflict, it's almost here. Civil war, it's here in some ways, and then invasion. He says this will greatly diminish the spirit of the Antichrist to take hold of this nation. He says, so there was a side of it, particularly if we pray, that all of this will result in a blessing from the Lord to keep us from the domain of the spirit of the Antichrist. Now remember, we're about to talk about these arrests. He says, in the governmental arena, we'll go through a dramatic change in our government, and there will be a time of anarchy and chaos. Question, do you think the arrest of 110,000 people, many of them leaders, congressional leaders, many of them celebrities, bank presidents, the leaders of our nation, the very worst of the worst that are in the top places. Do you think 110,000 of them being arrested and put on public military tribunals in the prison islands, do you think that that would cause chaos? I certainly do. In the governmental arena, we will go dramatic change in our government. There will be a time of anarchy and chaos. For a while, we'll have a fractional government, which means basically our government come down to the state level because of the military stepping in and having to seize control of our federal government. You'd call it a coup, but in all honesty, it will be to help our nation. That is why the military will step in. All right, hang on. I don't think that that's the military taking over Trump. I think the military loves Trump. He's given them a raise. He's given them the finances to build their military back up. He is a military man himself, though he was not in the military. He was raised in a military school. So the military, I believe, loves Trump, and I believe Trump loves the military. I do not think that this is the military taking over Trump. I think this is the military at Trump's command arresting 110,000 U.S. leaders of all walks of life. Let's go on. You call it a coup, but in all honesty, it would be to help our nation. That's why the military steps in. You're going to see a major change within our government. A great economic turmoil will come in the years 2014 to 2015. A year of transition will bring on these changes in government. Now, we don't know how long that delay was for. It'd be nice if the delay was for 15 years. But when he says 2014, 2015, you will be making a big mistake if you say, he missed it. No, we were given a respite. We were given a delay. If not, these would have already hit us. Let's go on. Then there will arise a new government in Europe. Well, hey, wait a minute. Is that not just in the process of happening right now? Do we not see Merkel in the process of falling? In the last time she was seen publicly, she was shaking so profusely the camera couldn't cover it. And are we not seeing Theresa May resign? And are we not seeing Boris Johnson step into? So are we not seeing new leadership already coming to Europe? Oh, yes, we are. Let's go on. He says, keep your eyes on four nations. They will be signposts as to what is coming. Keep your eyes on Greece, Italy, Spain, and France. Greece is going to want another Alexander the Great. Italy is going to want another emperor. Spain is going to want another king and queen. And France is going to want another Napoleon. But Satan is going to offer all three to them in one person. They will say yes. And through chaos, they will gain control. Well, how close are we to that? Well, praise God, we're not close to that. Hadn't heard anything happening with Greece, Italy, Spain, and France. But now let's talk about the arrests. In November 2017, a former attorney general by the name of John Huber was hired to investigate sex trafficking and corruption in America. He hired 470 dogged investigators. They began filing sealed indictments. Normally, the United States has from 150 to 350 sealed indictments at any one time. However, at the time I ran across this, there was 4,000 sealed indictments, but as of about 2 weeks ago, the count is up to 106,502. July the 22nd, the headline on BenjaminFulford.net is Nuremberg 2 hearings to be broadcast live on the internet. He says the cleanup of the Khazarian satanic infection of the U.S. body politic, what we call the world bankers that run the world, took a dramatic new turn last week when the U.S. House of Representatives voted to broadcast live the tribunals taking place now. Let me read that again. Did you hear that? The U.S. House of Representatives has voted to broadcast the tribunals now. He uses the word now, taking place in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and elsewhere. He goes on to say, Pentagon sources describe these hearings as Nuremberg 2. Okay, what's Nuremberg? Well, after World War II, all of these Nazi war criminals were all arrested. They were put on trial, and they are called the Nuremberg trials. And many of them were executed. A lot of them were put in prison for the rest of their life or for many, many years. And those were publicly broadcast. What he's saying is these 110,000 people that are about to be arrested, that's what he says, and I'm going to give you some more information here in just a second. They are now going to be broadcast live over the internet. Now, hang on, there's more. He goes on to say, the U.S. Department of Defense is installing cameras at various bases to broadcast the ongoing military tribunals. Okay, hold on. Stop everything. Let's think this through. What does this say? This is saying, and I'm going to provide proof to it here in just a second, so he's right. What does this say? It says that 110,000 people are about to be arrested. Some sources say that Jeffrey Epstein was only the first. He was the finger being pulled out of the dike, and the dam is in the process of breaking. And that means that these 110,000 people, many of them are celebrities, very, very popular. The biggest haters of Trump are probably going to be these kind of people. Somebody out there loves them. Look, these are very high profile, many of them respected, loved, big names, big celebrities, movie stars, big bankers, and congressmen and women. So 110,000 of them all gets arrested all over a pretty short period of time. And all of a sudden, the Department of Defense has now installed cameras at various bases and are now to broadcast their tribunals, trials. Let's guess for just a minute. And I can tell you right now, I do not know that these two are going to be part of it. But I'll ask you, since Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are actually very popular, my brothers and sisters, I mean, keep in mind, Clinton was president not once, but twice. And his wife almost beat Trump. So they're very beloved. So let's say, for example, Bill and Hillary are among those arrested, and they're taken off to the Atoll Islands, or to Diego Garcia, or to Gitmo Island, and they're put on military tribunal trial. In other words, it's not a show trial. It's not an O.J. Simpson thing. They're not bringing in their big high-powered lawyers, and they're not doing all. Instead, the trial takes place in an hour, and they are sentenced to execution. I mean, let's get real. Okay, ask yourself what's the worst possible thing can happen. Understand we're heading to an internal revolution, and it is not a joke. These things I've been telling you, it's not a joke. I hadn't been just pulling them out of thin air. Ask yourself what would happen. So we watch. We see Bill and Hillary Clinton sentenced for who knows what, and the sentence is execution. And the sentence doesn't take 10 years to be carried out. It's a military tribunal. Let's say, for example, 3 days later, they broadcast their execution. I don't know, maybe it's a firing squad. I don't know, maybe it's electrocution. I don't know. But ask yourself the tough question. Bill and Hillary Clinton, let's say they're executed. Oh, it gets worse. What if former President Barack Hussein Obama is arrested? He's found guilty. He's executed publicly on the internet. Ask yourself what will be happening in America. There will be people that are out of their mind, angry, forget the law. They have a phrase. If there's no justice, there's no peace. Okay, so what happens when all of a sudden they start just saying, I'm going to burn everything? And they start pulling out their shooting irons and they're mad. They're not just shooting into the air, brothers and sisters. They're shooting up everything that looks like it is Trump or likes Trump. And at this point, you don't dare wear anything that's red or resembles anything that might say, make America great again. Do you see what I'm saying? All of a sudden, these things that I've been telling you about for 33 years, well, at least since 1987, I guess that is 33 years, isn't it? All of a sudden, the internal revolution is here. See, in my opinion, and I've always wondered what's going to start the internal revolution. I can remember when I first heard this, I thought, wow, we're so peaceful. We're so anti-violence. What could possibly start an internal revolution? Well, there you go. 110,000 people. Okay, here, let's take another one. Now, I do not know that Beyonce is going to be arrested. I'm only using this as an example, but there's a lot of people that love her. There's a lot of people who love a lot of these people. Let's say they get arrested and say Beyonce is put in prison. And let's say her sentence is 20 years. No parole. What do you think people, but you see, it's not just one, it's not just two, it's 110,000 people put on public trial. No, they don't have any rights. They're at Gitmo. They're at the Diego Garcia or the Atoll Prison Islands. They don't have fancy attorneys. They don't have the rights. How can they do this? I'll tell you how they can do this. President Bush, right after 9/11, signed an executive order giving them the authority to try people just like this. And then December 25th, I believe it was, 2017, might be 2018, have to look that up again. But anyway, President Trump signed an executive order giving him more authority to not just arrest and try them in military tribunals. Bush gave him that. But now he also has the authority to confiscate all of their wealth, not just in America, but around the globe. Go read it, brothers and sisters. It's law. It's there. It's executive order. So all of a sudden, we see not just one or two, but after 10 or 20, after 100 or 200. Look, there's 110,000 of these people. You talk about Jeffrey Epstein. You talk about sports figures. We're talking about popular athletes. We're talking about you could sit and list them all, but people that own sports stadiums, that own sports teams, that are extremely wealthy, very well known, very well beloved. And it's not just, it's day after day after day after day. This is streaming live. Execution, 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 prison time, prison time, prison time, execution, execution, execution. And it's on the internet, brothers and sisters. What do you think is going to happen? I'm telling you, think that Antifa is bad now, putting on the mask and beating up on a little guy, throwing quick drying cement on him, throwing Coke on him, or throwing eggs at the windows or something. You think that's bad? Oh, you hadn't seen anything yet. It will reach the point to where if you even look like you're Christian, you even look like you're a Trump supporter, you even look like you're a good, clean, upstanding person, and you get out on the streets, you're in danger of being shot, killed, raped, kidnapped. Yeah, kidnapped. Don't be surprised what people don't get kidnapped, and then they turn up days later, dead, and who knows how bad they were beat up and tortured. Yeah. Look, you don't give me justice, so you don't get any peace. That's what they say. So all of a sudden, our little peaceful nation is turned upside down. And all of this because of Jeremiah 51, verse 9. Jeremiah 51, verse 9 says, we would have healed Babylon. Babylon is America. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let every man return into his own country. Look, as I've told you the story, was it now 2 years ago? Leslie woke up, had a dream, told me we need to get our license to carry a firearm. I said, really? Is it come to that? I mean, is God telling his ministers? I mean, I laughed about it. I'm sad to say. Is God now telling his ministers that they need to get a firearm? 30 days later, we're told again. 30 days later, we're told again. 3 times. We were told, go get your license to carry a firearm. Now, is that saying it's because I'm going to be like a real high-profile type person that maybe is going to be attacked a little bit more than others? Well, maybe. I don't know. But I know this. Why would God tell me to get a license to carry a firearm if there's not a reason? And here's the thing. Brothers and sisters, it's probably not just his ministers. If he's telling his ministers of the gospel to be prepared for something like that, what do you think he would say to you? Okay, here, let's go on to the next thing. Headline, House passes Schiff Amendment to broadcast Guantanamo Bay proceedings. Yes, and get a load of this. It says that it was put into this most recent finance bill. In other words, it's about to be law that they have to broadcast these military tribunals. Well, you got to ask yourself, okay, Adam Schiff, he's far, far, far left. So why would he want these military tribunals to be broadcast. You'd have thought that he'd have been kind of ashamed that some of his buddies and his supporters and other congressmen were arrested and tried for corruption or sex trafficking. You'd have thought he would have been ashamed. You'd have thought he didn't want it to be broadcast. I'll tell you why he wants it broadcast, because he wants to stir up trouble. He wants Trump to say, oh, no, this is causing so much trouble. Stop the trials, let these people go. That's what he wants. But I don't think he's going to get it. I think we are about to see, maybe in the next few days, maybe in the next few weeks, I'd like to think it's a month or so. I'd like to think that this doesn't even happen till after the election. Okay, that's what I'd like to think. I'd like to think that I'm just talking to the wind right now. But when Adam Schiff gets the Schiff Amendment with his name on it, passed and put into the defense bill that just passed the House and is now heading to the Senate, that tells me all of this stuff is real close, brothers and sisters. Next headline, Army lets slip that is conducting secret operations around Washington, D.C. It goes on to say, the Pentagon has revealed details about a secret Army mission that has 10 Blackhawk helicopters flying missions over Washington, D.C. Now, let me just get to the point here. And they are emerging classified flight missions. Soldiers from Assault Helicopter Company and Aviation Maintenance Use will be supporting the mission with 10 Blackhawk helicopters. And it's going to be over the next 4 months, and that's kind of the summarized article. What's going on? Okay, why are they asking for $1.5 million extra dollars for emerging classified flight missions with 10 Blackhawk helicopters flying missions over Washington, D.C.? Can you guess? My guess is that the roundup of 110,000 people is about to start, brothers and sisters. So what do? Well, I'll tell you what you do. You order my book. Oh, come on, Stan. No, really. Look, brothers and sisters, this gets close, and it is so winning time. People been laughing at you, saying, oh, that we don't have to worry about none of that end time stuff. There's going to be a pre-trib rapture. Well, look it. They start burning buildings, start shooting people left and right. There is civil war. I mean, open bloodshed, blood running in our streets. And they're going to start saying, okay, maybe I need to find out what the Bible says about this. That's when you're going to need my book. That's when you want to be as much of an expert on explaining Bible prophecy, what's going on, as is possible. In case you hadn't heard, here's what happened. So about 2 years ago, just as a project, decided I was going to memorize the book of Revelation. All of a sudden, I began to get revelations, 30 of them, and 2 visions and an audible voice. And I was shown that a secret door links the Feast of Leviticus to the prophecies of Revelation. And for the first time, anybody reading Revelation can then put the proper prophecies in the proper chronological order to understand Revelation, to put everything in order. It's all in this book. 1 for $20, but don't do that. Get 5 for $30, better, 10 for $55, and the joy is a case of 60 for $250. That way you got 59 other copies to give around to other your people. 1 for $20, 5 for $30, 10 for $55, a case of 60 for $250 at prophecyclub.com. Prophecyclub.com. That's what you do. You get ready for soul winning. And yeah, it'd be a good idea to have some physical preparations too. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. God bless. Oh, also remember, it is summertime. Boy, we really need your help right now.